Today we're taking a look at these NCAAF matches, which are happening on Thursday, September 2nd, 2021, and giving you match breakdowns, betting tips and predictions in general on these games. Welcome back to High Stakes, let's get straight into it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to get notified as soon as we release these sport prediction videos, and if you would like more betting tips and predictions, then check out our Patreon in the link down below. Our new Patreon is a way for us to help you improve your chances of making more money. 5 plans are available for each and every one of you. You can get 30 extra betting picks all the way up to 270 extra betting picks per month. Stop wasting hours of your time searching for bad betting advice that ends up costing you a lot of money. Join the High Stakes Patreon now and get the best betting picks and advice. The Temple Owls averaged 19.9 points and 348.3 yards per game last season. They did not average enough considering that they allowed a whopping 37 points per game last season. Dwan Mathis, a freshman transfer from Georgia, is the new starting quarterback taking over for Anthony Russo, now at Michigan State. At running back, Taven Ruley returns from last season after having 306 yards and a touchdown. There might be some nice parts to play around with, but the D-line is one of the team's biggest areas of rebuilding. The Rutgers offense won't be 2020 Alabama, but it has the skill parts to be fine early on, as long as everyone gets a little bit of time to work. Last season, Rutgers finished the year 94th in the FBS in passing offense with 198.8 yards per game. The Scarlet Knights were 86th in rushing with 140.3 yards per contest, leaving them 105th in total offense with 339.1 yards per game. Rutgers was 80th in the FBS in scoring offense with 26.7 points per game, while they were 83rd in scoring defense by allowing 32.1 points a contest. Noah Vedral is back under center after completing 136 of 224 passes for 1,253 yards, with 9 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. He was third on the team with 193 yards and a score on the ground. My betting advice is to pick Rutgers Scarlet Knights minus 14.5. Boise State vs UCF. After losing former head coach Brian Harsin to Auburn, Boise State hired former Oregon defensive coordinator Andy Avalos to lead the team. He inherited a team that has 17 returning starters, so expect the Broncos to play well this season. Not to fire with faint praise, but call this an elimination game in the race for the Group of 5 spot in the New Year's Six Bowls. More importantly, consider this a showcase game for all of those conferences What's up, Big 12? That desperately needs to find expansion partners. The Knights' 2020 receiving leader Marlon Williams, 1039 receiving yards, has graduated, leaving way for Jalen Robinson to shine. The junior WR accumulated 979 receiving yards in 2020 and should eclipse the 1,000 yards mark. My betting advice is to pick UCF Knights minus 5. East Carolina vs Appalachian State. Defensively, the key to East Carolina's success is in part the performance of Rick DeBrew. Last season the lineman had just 1 quarterback sack, and this year will be playing at defensive end, which will help with his explosiveness and quickness. Appalachian State was terrific statistically in every facet a year ago, with the offense piling up 33.8 points on 452.7 yards per game. The defense was a top 20 unit nationally, with opponents managing just 20 points and 329.4 yards per game last season. Against a great East Carolina offense, the Mountaineers should be able to hold their own when needed. But this game will be mostly about whether or not the ACU defense can slow down ASU. My betting advice is to pick Appalachian State minus 10.5. Quick reminder, you can get 125% cashback bonus on your first deposit on our partner sportsbook BetUS after you open an account using our link down below and use our promo code HIGHSTAKES when making your deposit. South Florida vs North Carolina State. The last time the youngsters started a game was in 2018 against NC State. Fortin was playing for the North Carolina Tar Heels at the time, and he lost 34-28 in overtime. This will be Fortin's 4th college season and just his 3rd start. He has thrown a total of just 8 passes the past 2 years. Knight powered his way for 788 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns last season. So there is hope he can reach that 1,000-yard milestone in 2021. He should have no trouble piling up the stats against a Bulls team that allowed an average 212.33 rushing yards per game last season. There were enough leaks along that defensive front to sink a battleship. My betting advice is to pick North Carolina State Wolfpack, -18. Ohio State vs Minnesota. The biggest loss for the Buckeyes was QB Justin Fields, who was a number 1 draft pick to the Chicago Bears. CJ Stroud, who was the 13th ranked QB recruit a couple of years ago, will take over at QB, and he has the best set of receivers in the nation to throw to, including Chris Olave, who led the team last year with 726 yards and 7 TDs. Fifth-year quarterback Tanner Morgan is going to be looking to bounce back after completing just 57.9% of his pass attempts last year. Morgan is working under new offensive coordinator Mike Sanford. It's a new year with a full offseason and plenty of time for this veteran group to ramp things up, and Ohio State, as talented as it is, still has to get used to a whole slew of new parts in a Big Ten season opener on the road. My betting advice is to pick Minnesota +14. Bowling Green vs Tennessee. The Falcons only averaged 11 points per game and 326 yards per game last season. And it's not like there's a ton of talent coming back. The Falcons will rely heavily on their top running back from a year ago, Tyrion Stewart, who rushed for about 300 yards last year. But the receiver core is not in as good a shape, as all the top wideouts and tight ends either graduated or transferred. It will be a young receiver group led by Tyrone Broden. Last year's starting quarterback Matt McDonald is back, but he struggled last season, completing about 45% of his passes with 1 touchdown and 6 interceptions. Drew Gunther, a transfer from Syracuse, will be ready if McDonald stumbles. Joe Milton, a 6'5" junior, is listed as the top quarterback on the depth chart. Milton spent his last 3 seasons at the University of Michigan and played in 6 Big Ten games last year, completing 56.7% of his passes for 1,077 yards, with 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. The top targets in the Volunteers' passing game are senior wide receiver Velus Jones Jr., who caught 22 passes for 280 yards with 3 touchdowns, and sophomore Jalen Hyatt, who had 276 yards and 2 touchdowns with 20 catches. My betting advice is to pick Tennessee Volunteers -35.5. Good luck to all of you. That's it for this video. Stay tuned and stay safe for the next betting tips and advice. Quick reminder, you can get 125% cashback bonus on your first deposit on our partner sportsbook BetUS after you open an account using our link down below and use our promo code HIGHSTAKES when making your deposit.